Originally, I planned on doing a full roster breakdown of the Cavs 2024 Summer League squad, and while I still plan on doing some sort of preview before the games start, as well as covering this team throughout the Summer League, I wound up spending so much time focusing on Emoni Bates that I figured a separate video was warranted, because Bates is still one of the most interesting prospects and highly talked about guys in the G League, and he is headed back to Las Vegas this summer. While Emoni has not lived up to the lofty and unfair expectations that were placed on him coming out of high school, he is still working hard behind the scenes to make his jump to the next level. He spent almost a full season in the G League last year, averaging about 22 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists, while Charge head coach Mike Garrity emphasized expanding Emoni's game off of the ball while still giving him enough freedom to create for himself throughout the flow of a game. Emoni was named to the G League All-Star game, and I would say he had a successful season overall. And today we are going to talk about where Emoni has improved, how he can still get better, and what we should be looking for in Las Vegas. Before we officially get started, if you enjoy this content and you want to support the channel, you can do so simply by hitting subscribe, dropping a like, or leaving a comment. I know some people immediately think that analyzing a player's flaws means that I hate them, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. And I think most people get that I'm just talking basketball on this channel, and that means I have to cover the strengths and weaknesses of each player I talk about. I tend to have a pretty optimistic spin on just about every player, including Emoni. So before you lump me into the very real group out there where they just hate Emoni for no reason, understand that I am not one of those people, and I'm simply here to break down the game as I see it. And now at this point in Emoni's development, he is absolutely still at his best when he is knocking down stationary catch and shoot attempts. He's a fluid lights out shooter when he is being set up by a teammate. Last year in the G League, Emoni shot just 38% from the field and 34% on jump shots overall, but more than 70% of his makes came off of assists. This matches the eye test to me that shows Emoni is an elite shooter when he is on the catch, but he still has work to do elsewhere. He has a quick release and enough height to punish defenders who are late closing out to him, but while Emoni does flash a few flamethrower moments with the ball in his hands, he still is searching for a way to be an efficient creator on the ball, and his activity without it is a work in progress. This dude has supreme confidence in his three-point shooting ability, and it leads to some ridiculous heat check moments. But this is also something that contributed to his struggles in college, and I actually think his coaching staff in the G League has done a good job of helping Emoni strike a finer balance between taking those tough jumpers and playing within the flow of an offense. Emoni's ability to knock down difficult shots is a great skill to have, but it's not one that will be enough to get him to the NBA. There's still work to be done, and I do think last season was a clear step forward for Emoni. I think it's important that he has shown a willingness to buy in and learn from his coaches. If we look back 10 years from now and Emoni is enjoying a successful career, then I would say that one of the core reasons for that success is that he has been incredibly coachable up to this point. Shifting our focus to the obstacles that he still has to overcome, Emoni doesn't really have NBA level athleticism, and this has been my primary concern with him as a prospect. He's not as fluid in his movements or coordinated when being compared to other pro athletes. His footwork is a little clunky, and I don't think he has the explosiveness or vertical pop to overwhelm his opponents. His athletic testing at the NBA Draft Combine was below what you would have hoped, on top of measuring with a negative wingspan and a 179-pound frame. Bates was undoubtedly one of the best shooters at the Combine, and I actually think his overall performance is what helped Emoni get drafted after a rough experience in college, but the Combine did give us concrete measurements showing that he's a little slower and less athletic than his peers. And so if you don't have the foot speed to keep up with your opponent, then you need to be crafty enough to make up for it elsewhere. And at just 19 years old in his rookie season, Emoni did not have that craft to his game, at least not yet, and again, not at the NBA level. You can think of an example in someone like Kyle Anderson, who might lack athleticism but is still able to be an impact player because of his feel for the game. Emoni will have to follow a similar path if he wants to reach his individual ceiling, and since the Combine, Bates has apparently added close to 20 pounds, entering Las Vegas at 196 compared to just 179 at the Combine. This is important because it will allow Emoni to better utilize his 6'8" frame and stop him from being knocked off balance when he's getting to his spots, whether that's on the ball or getting to the rim, just navigating screens in general. That added weight is a huge stepping stone for Bates, because if there is a path forward to being a 3-level scorer, then bulking up and rounding out the rest of his game is the key for Emoni. And so I'm interested to see how he looks with this added weight and if it becomes easier for him in Las Vegas than it has been in the past. So what else should we be looking for? Emoni has world-class talent as a three-point shooter, but he has not caught up to the versatility that NBA players are expected to have in this era. He will be asked to dribble, pass, and shoot if he's going to play meaningful minutes on an NBA team, especially a contender such as the Cavs. His handle and playmaking are still big question marks. Bates finished with more turnovers than assists with the charge, which is a major concern. He isn't great at getting around defenders, and he shot just 50% from within 9 feet. This lack of an interior game makes it too easy for defenders to run him off the three-point line without fearing any consequences. Bates will have to improve getting downhill and either converting at the rim or making reads against a scrambling defense by kicking out to teammates or finding his bigs in the dunker spot. Creating and attacking advantages has been a point of emphasis for Bates in the G League, and I think it's something he is working to improve. It just might take a little more time. I'd watch to see how Bates processes the game in the Summer League now that he has more experience under his belt and the competition is a little lower than what he has seen throughout the year. And if we see some more advantage creation out of him, then that would be a positive sign. On top of this, Bates must continue to expand his shot profile, diversifying his three-point attempts by improving without the ball and getting better at navigating screens. He's a great catch and shoot threat, but Bates hasn't carved out a knack for flying off of screens and drilling shots on the move just yet. I'm interested to see how Emoni has grown off ball and if he can be better utilized on this Summer League squad. And I hope to see more flashes of that on-ball shot creation. His pull-up shooting is promising, but it hasn't been perfect just yet. And this skill has been limited by the fact that he isn't able to do other things at a sufficient level. Emoni's three-point shooting is his greatest strength, but maximizing that talent requires some growth in other areas. To round this out, if there's one thing that no one can question about Emoni Bates, it's his willingness to learn and his hunger to improve. He's an incredibly self-aware player and understands the task ahead of him. Back in January, I was able to ask Emoni which aspect of his development he has been the most proud of, and he replied with his defense and being more aware of himself, going on to say he is learning how to be an impactful player even when his shot isn't falling. He said this directly after scoring a career-high 38 points with the Charge, and his head coach echoed this same sentiment right before, saying this was the best defensive game he had seen from Emoni, ignoring the 38 points altogether. And so I do believe focusing more on the other aspects of his game is what it will take for Emoni to reach the next level. I do question if he can ever be a truly impactful defender. I think the best case scenario would be just breaking even, but I don't question if he is committed to basketball or any of the other stupid things that people have said about him off of the court. He is fully bought into the developmental path that has been laid out to him by the Cavs. And while he has many hurdles to clear before stamping himself into an NBA rotation, the Las Vegas Summer League gives Emoni Bates another opportunity to grow as a player, and I can't wait to see what he shows.